Thank you, Jeff, for the kind words, and you're the real hero. So happy to see you here because it's a tough place to be, standing between the bar or the beers as the last presenter of the day. So I'll try to make it quick. I'll only take 45 minutes of your time, if that's okay. So let's see. Anyway, my name is Jami Laes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Futureplay Games. I've been a little bit over 18 years in mobile games. I started off as a game designer, then moved into production and running studios and building game companies for others, and decided at some point that enough of this shit, and I'm going to do it on my own, and it's been wonderful ever since. So the topic of the day is to focus on Battlelands Royale, or how to brew instant mokka. And mokka for us means multiplayer, online, casual, competitive arena games. And it will come clear later why mokka. It comes from MOBA, obviously. So let's dive right into it a little bit. A couple of words about the company first. We were founded in 2015. We raised $3 million in venture capital. We're 26 people next Monday. About 14 million in lifetime revenues for the whole company. We launched 7 games. We killed 4. One of them in soft launch, Battle Bombers Arena. The team killed it a few weeks back, and we still have 6 games live and killed 3 prototypes as well. About 47 million downloads and 0 managers, 0 directors, 0 product managers, 0 producers, 0 C-level people if you don't include me, because somebody needs to, put their signature on stuff. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm not managing anyone either. So we operate in a very different way at Futureplay Games. So about the kind of company and how we structured, we really wanted to build a company, and we didn't, for example, when we started raising money, we didn't start to raise money that, hey, Mr. VC, we're game developers, we have this great game idea, we love to do it, this is our passion, this is what we want to do, and please buy our game and give us money to make this game. That's not how we raise money. We raise money for building a company. We have a different strategy. We're getting all the tools and experience and building the platforms ourselves when we need them, etc., rather than focusing on building games that we like or anything like that. And a couple of other kind of building blocks for us as a company is that we tend to do things very fast, because when you're small, all you have is your speed. You don't have the size, you don't have the weight of bigger organizations. So we try to be faster than anybody else. And the kind of key component for us to being fast in development is what we call minimum awesome product. Not minimum viable. Minimum viable is no longer viable because there's 5,000 apps and games coming into the store every day on both platforms, Google Play and App Store. And if you do something that's kind of half-baked, doesn't really work, or is unpolished, etc., it's kind of hard to get people to really download it and stick around and actually get some meaningful KPIs on engagement, retention, fun, monetization, etc. So we tend to develop like full products, but really tightly scoped. Like in the instance of our first game, which is soon 3 years old, Idle Farming Empire, you can't pan the farm, you can't move the camera, you can't zoom in or out. What you see is what you get. But we tend to avoid dead pixels. We try to reuse the real estate on a fixed screen as much as we can. So, for example, in Idle Farming, everything has a reason. It's either a vector for monetization, it's either a vector for rewarded video ads, monetization, or social engagement fun, or some other appointment mechanics. What we also want to do is that when you're small, you don't really know which one is going to work. You don't have like 100 people doing market research and positioning and stuff like that, like in bigger companies. So we tend to want to launch a few similar products, not exactly at the same time, but in the same kind of period, so we can kind of compare them back to back and side to side and try a couple of different themes, but similar core mechanics, for example, or try to build games into the same kind of competitive genre, but with different core mechanics. So an example of this is that we've done 4 idle games. We tried different themes: farm, city, Minecraft, and YouTubers, influencers, celebrities. So those are the kind of 4 that we launched. What we can do with that is that we can learn very fast which things work, which things don't work, learn more about some kind of differences in the core mechanic and some other kind of vectors in the game. And we can also leverage not just the learnings, but leverage cross-promotion more efficiently, which we do a lot. And what we're really trying to do is always kind of align the stars, get the timing right, what's happening in the market, where the puck is moving, so to speak, to use hockey speak. Look at, gaps in the market or market opportunities where there's large incumbents who are kind of old and weary games. Could we offer a classic innovator's dilemma, a faster, nimbler, funnier, cheaper, cheekier version of that, or a more casual version of that for the players and capture market that way? And try to align it so that it's actually something that we get excited, that we actually want to build that. So we didn't start the company based on there's a game or the game we want to build as our kind of a dream in life or anything like that. But when we actually do and choose which products to kind of put focus on and put teams on, we prototype as long as we actually find something that we think we want to build. And that's how we kind of align the stars. And also there on the top, I mean, something that works whether you're getting married or you're thinking about your Asia production strategy or your technology strategy or you're building your products, something old, something new, and something blue. That works for everything. Trust me. Try it next time you need to come up with a strategy for anything. So that's what we use in our hybrid product strategy always when we do kind of these new batches of products. So in the case of our idle portfolio, it was going after the massive themes, farm, city, etc., and coming up with a new kind of monetization and do that properly, kind of ads first in the view-to-play model that we coined the term for. And do it kind of under the hood with the idle game simplicity, but also, not just like any other idle game, turn it into a swiper because it's a swiper, swipe native interface, etc. And since we're going after the massive themes, rather than doing indie niche style kind of games, do it with AAA quality, the Nordic quality mark. So that's to really kind of lay the ground for the company. So going into Battlelands Royale, so last year's spring and summer, we started thinking, okay, next year is going to look pretty good, 2018 for us, once we have the idle portfolio ready. So now is the right time to kind of take a little bit more risks and start to focus on something where we think there's even higher retention profiles and higher monetization opportunities in certain genres or parts of the market. And we started looking for different kind of entry points or parts of the market, or what could be up and coming into the market, and what could be the new opportunities we want to go for. You can't really see anything out of these, and that's not the point. The point of this is that at the same time as the teams were prototyping things and building tech for example, multiplayer games and prototyping different kind of level generation stuff and things like that, we were looking at the market from the top down at the same time, looking at player versus player games, real-time multiplayer games, looking at all the way from Clash to the kind of .io games and everything else in between, casual sports and build and battlers and stuff like that, and thinking about, is there a way into this market? But it looked for us, when we built a prototype on this as well, that there's no way in hell we want to go into the kind of Clash part of this market. That is just too risky. There's only one winner and a lot of dead bodies on the side of the road compared to Clash. Then we looked at another part of the market, match 3. There's actually a way kind of more even split between the companies. And the metric here, what I'm actually using is based on App Annie data. We coined a new metric called revenue per download per month. So how quickly the game gets to its revenue per download, how many months it's used for that. So it's basically normalized for how many months the game has been live and how effectively it generates a kind of proxy for lifetime value revenue per download. Match 3 was way more even. There seemed to be new games popping up every year with variations on theme, variations on metagame, not so much on the kind of core game mechanics per se. And that was something that was interesting for us as well. But then something happened when we were doing this. We started playing a lot of PUBG. And we started thinking that, oh my God, how do we do Battlegrounds on mobile? How do we do Battlegrounds on mobile? And that kind of thought and discussion was going on for a little while. And then we kind of decided that, okay, let's put match 3 on hold because it's like toilet paper. It's a category that won't go away. It's the crosswords of our time in terms of genres or mechanics on mobile at least. It will be there if we want to get into match 3 later, but these MOCAs, these battlegrounds, these battle royales, everybody's going to be there next year. So we need to start to think that how do we go into that area? So we kind of coined the term mocha based on how do we take the excitement, the pain, the glory, the every match tells a story, the FU, the I got you from MOBAs and Battle Royale games, and how do we take the accessibility of .io games where you can just jump in and start eating as a blob in Agario and the other games, and you last for a while, then you die, but kind of lift it up from the IO games to get a little bit more metagame in there and a better retention and engagement. And how do we retain, if we simplify from the MOBAs and the Battle Royales on PC, how do we retain the spectatorship so it is actually something that people want to watch if every match tells a story? And how do we do it with great quality? So this is kind of fast forwarding to now. This is data from Q3 from the US iOS. Match3 is there at the top, like 18.9% of the market in terms of revenue. And Battle Royale didn't exist back then when we started thinking about this. But it kind of proves the point that it's an up-and-coming genre in the market. But it's obviously ruled by Fortnite at the moment. So how did we do Battlelands Royale then? The first prototype was just at the end of October, right before Slush. One guy called Henrik, better blame Henrik, is what we usually say in the company. If you've ever seen the good TV show called Better Call Saul, it's a pun on that. He did the original prototype alone, actually, by himself. And immediately when we tried the prototype, I think it was 8 or 16 people real time actually playing, etc. Everybody felt like, oh shit, this has something. This is really fun. And we showed it to people at Slush and after that, and everybody said that, oh my gosh, you got to move on this very quickly, that this is something. So we started pre-production right after that in December and looking at the visuals, thinking about how we're going to build it. We ended up actually going with a Photon engine for building all the kind of multiplayer functionality rather than doing anything our own or anybody else. And we're also using a lot of PlayFab in terms of the skins economy and matchmaking and stuff like that as well. And we started outlining the design. So a team of 3 kicked off production right after the new year, and we added 2 more at the end of January when they came back from Southeast Asia from their vacation. And we soft launched it in Poland and Finland and Ukraine at the end of March. Less than 3 months later when we started production. And then we scaled the team to 8 people in May. And we did like bi-weekly updates all the way during soft launch until we got to global launch at the end of June on both platforms, iOS and Android. And it is cross-platform, it's just regionally split. So people, due to ping times, geographically play who are geographically close to each other, play together. And this is the first prototype, what it looked like. This is from the editor, but it looked exactly the same on the phone. It's just a different kind of cut from the point of view. So it was pretty much already there in terms of what's the field of vision. We decided early on that we don't want to do first person, that we want to go to third person. So you don't need to think as a player, if you're in a 3D world, where do you move the tiny screen of the mobile phone? But you basically move your character and the world moves with you. It's a better metaphor for the user kind of experience on mobile for a shooter. That's what we thought. Then we put some assets into it from Unity Asset Store to make it look a little bit more graphical and tested some assault rifles and stuff like that, and thinking about the visibility, how big the buildings can be, tweaking different values, etc. Did a lot of visual development then, thinking about how do we get the readability between the kind of the battle layer, the battleground, and the background? How do we make the characters very versatile so that we can actually use them for skinning, for the skins economy? And how do we make them kind of unique at the same time, but kind of generic so that they kind of give themselves away for a lot of different things? And that's where we ended up. And how we actually did it was just very simply 1 week sprints where the team owns everything. Like I said earlier, we don't have product managers, we don't have producers, we didn't have any managers or anything like that. So basically they just sat down on Monday and went through what was in last Friday's build. What are we going to do this week? And then at the end of the week on Friday, there was always a new build. And that's the kind of core process for it. And nobody else from the outside of the team was kind of on the way or complicating things or anything. Of course, we gave a lot of feedback and had playtest sessions with the whole company, etc. And everybody managed themselves. And it was a mix of junior and senior people eventually when we got to 8 people and all that. But it's all about communication. It's all about just the team fully owning everything that they were doing. And I think one of the reasons why it went so smoothly was that the prototype was actually right on the money. It was already right there what we wanted to do. It was pretty clear from the prototype, how do we kind of extrapolate from there into minimum awesome product. There wasn't a lot to be actually added there. All we needed to, one of the kind of key things, one of the pillars was that let's not screw this up. Let's not make it overly complex visually. Let's not, screw up the readability for the players. Let's not make it too cumbersome or anything, because the prototype was, beautifully simple, and it worked. So, like I said, we technically soft-launched for just testing the servers and all that, and seeing how much we need metal on that end and how many players we can support, and testing the architecture and everything. That was at the end of March. Less than 3 months from starting production, and at the end of June, we launched on both platforms, adding kind of more players into the match, and of course, a lot of the kind of basic stuff on the meta game, on the skins economy, into the battle pass and all of that. But why rush? Well, if you take that as a given that it's like a big phenomenon on the PC side and console side already last year, and a lot of people obviously would probably be coming to mobile. At the same time, the minimum awesome product kind of thinking in terms of our production mindset is actually more important than that. We strongly believe that you can't really know how well the game is going to do until you actually put it into the hands of real players. That if you really kind of try to soft launch as early as possible, and even global launch as early as possible. Battlelands is right now 0.66 and 0.7 is on my test flight over there. So we're not even at version 1.0, and still we've gone global. It kind of really forces you to focus on the essentials, that you can't really spend a lot of time with feature creep and bloat and lots of content when you know that you're only doing the things that are on the list that you're going to do. I mean, focus is actually what you don't do. It's very easy to layer more people and add more time and start doing more things, but focusing on just leaving stuff out and being brutal in kind of cutting things out of the scope so you can focus on a fewer things, that's where I think we're very good at. And I think that there's no better way to validate how well something works is than to actually try it, and not try it yourself, but try it in live, try it with real players, try it with concurrent players, etc. So we've used that a lot. We currently, for example, have 70,000 people on our Discord server giving us feedback on the game, etc. And that's always better than one person's kind of opinion in a development team. So you get earlier confirmation, and it actually kind of guides you in so many ways that I can seriously recommend it, launching very quickly and going live as soon as possible. It sounds like it's a scary idea that, can we change this later, or what if we do? We've actually revamped a lot of stuff even in our global games over the years. And for example, we're going to be doing a complete rehaul for Idle City Empire in a few weeks, which will be interesting to see what happens. So don't be afraid of taking risks with live products, is basically what I think. So how well has Battlelands Royale done so far? I'm not going to go through what the game is, so I hope you have played it. If you haven't, it's a 32-person Battle Royale on mobile done right. And we got about 13 million downloads and counting. There's about 7.5 million battles started every day, and 10 battles per day on average. And what we haven't done really yet is that we haven't done a lot of marketing of any kind, not performance-based, paid user acquisition, or anything else that requires money. We spend a little bit on paid user acquisition every day, just a couple $100 to teach our systems. We have an automated UA platform, what we call the BidBot, that we build ourselves, just to let BidBot and RobertBot learn, so that once we start to spend more money, it's actually going to work better. But what we've seen is massive virality or organic uplift, that we're just getting 150,000 downloads every day for free because people want to play this type of game. So that's been very good to see. And it's been very, very kind of popular on YouTube and social. I think we have about 1,000 channels where people are doing videos about it. And I think there's actually, on those channels, last time I checked, there was like 10 million views on those. And there's a few bigger YouTubers who we then kind of started to treat more as an extended team, and we've done their own battle flags and stuff like that, and are in constant communication with them and stuff like that. But obviously, where this kind of stems from is not only from the fact that we made a great game or anything like that, it's that this is the content, this is the type of games, and this is the type of videos that people want to see and people want to play at the moment. It kind of hits the zeitgeist. But that goes back into the company thinking that we want to hit those zeitgeists, we want to hit the timing. But if you want to hit timing or a specific gap in the market or a specific time in the market, guess what else you need to have? You need to have speed. So it kind of all comes together in a way if you really think about it. So very active on social as well. The YouTubers who are in our kind of influencer network, the Battlelands Royale Creator Club, they have about 13 million subs. Like I said, we have 70,000 people on Discord and 500,000 across Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord. And we see massive engagement even for the live streams that we do weekly with the dev team, where we play with players or we do challenges and take on challenges from people, etc. And what we've kind of started to do, like I said, we want to kind of develop the game and take the game where the players and where the community want it to go. So we've promoted now 30, and we're promoting another 30 as volunteer moderators across the channels, mainly Reddit, Discord, and Facebook, where they're kind of actually interfacing with all the players, all the community members, asking questions, doing surveys, collating that feedback and discussion and the kind of sentiment there, and providing that feedback back to us. Of course, we're there as well, but when you have 70,000 people asking for stuff, you need some help. You can't be just one person or 5-man team looking at that. But it's been great to see that people are super active and they really care for the product and they want to give you a lot of feedback and are asking for a lot of things in a good way. Very male-centric. It's about 80% male. We've seen actually the number of female players go up recently a little bit. USA is our biggest market. It's about 15% of all players on a daily basis. And it's a little bit older than we actually thought, because we thought, is this too cute, etc., as the graphic style. But 65% of our male players are actually aged 18 to 34. So it's not just a schoolyard game or anything, but trendy, gamer, social. Those are the kind of players that we have. And bear in mind that these are kind of all organic. We haven't really started targeting ourselves and doing paid user acquisition at a large scale. So then we went live with Season 2. I'm just going to show you a quick video. So we had a ton of new content, obviously, because it's a season, so you get a fresh batch of new content. But we also added some new things, like the battle flags. When you kill somebody, it sprouts up from the ground. Then challenges, daily, weekly, mystery challenges, which has been very popular as well, where we don't tell what it is. There's just a tiny hint, and the community needs to kind of tell them each other once somebody figures it out. And obviously new weapons as well. We're improving the store. We allow you to change your battler tag, and there's a lot of kind of core game additions that we're doing on top of the new weapons. I don't want to spill the beans yet on that, but it's something that we're going to test very carefully before we go out. Plus, we actually added ads there as well, so you can use ad as experience points boosters before the match. We completely overhauled the visuals for the map, actually. I don't know if anybody noticed, but there's a lot more detail and a lot more kind of contrast on it, and shadows and all of that, and more texture also on the places where we want to have it. And 2-week update cycle, and a lot more content coming during the season. So what we've actually seen is a nice improvement in overall performance. We've actually went up from like 22 minutes of daily average play time to like 25 minutes, and we peaked at 750,000 DAU, and it's kind of slowly going up without us doing user acquisition yet. Our ARPDAU is 3 to 4x from what it was in season 1. Obviously, what you see in these types of games is that it kind of peaks at the beginning of the season when people are buying the battle pass and the new skins that are exclusive on the daily store. But it's staying at a higher altitude compared to season 1, kind of when you put them from the start of the season. So that's a good sign. We have about 25,000 concurrent users across the 5 server regions what we have. And after the kind of, we actually had a lot of featuring when we started and when we launched globally on both platforms. And after that, there's been a lot of Google featuring as well on the algorithmic side. And I don't know if anybody knows, who here is a mobile developer? Raise your hand. Did you notice anything weird over the spring and summer with Google Play Store and rankings and algorithms and stuff like that? And I think the bots are getting smarter now, and we've seen a huge improvement in the quality of users that we're getting from those kind of store algorithms and how they automatically promote you. And we've seen just naturally all of our retention metrics basically double or quadruple in the past month and a half compared to what it was during the dark times over the summer. So we're pretty happy about those improvements already. But where we want to go with this? I mean, obviously, something that we want to continue doing is keep going with the seasonal kind of treadmill. Luckily, it's a little bit kind of longer treadmill, like every 60 days you need to freshen up the content with a completely new set of the season's rewards and add a new element into the rewards as well. And obviously, we're going to be adding new weapons and new, not just, projectile weapons, but we're thinking about adding, maybe a secondary melee tree for melee weapons, some grenades and stuff like that. We're also looking at the ability to go inside somewhere and adding loot boxes. We're talking about vehicles, height differences, and different kinds of terrain and stuff like that. But let's see where the team kind of goes with those. But what we're definitely going to be doing a lot more as well going forward is just focusing on the community and focusing on the influencers. Really trying to make this so that the game also lives outside of the game, that people are actually watching these videos, watching the challenges, seeing others trying to complete them, and once they do, rooting for them, etc. And we are also looking at some kind of very fundamental core gameplay additions. How do we kind of offer different kinds of boosters for the players? How do we offer more weapons that you can choose from without kind of complicating it? So the kind of mantra for this, what we're thinking about right now, is that how do we add depth without increasing complexity? Because that was the kind of whole thinking with Battlelands Royale, is that let's take Battlegrounds and all these Battle Royale games, let's boil it down to the bare essence of it, make it as simple as possible as the first prototype that you saw, and then just add just enough elements to make it deep enough so that it's interesting to play without adding a huge inventory system, a huge backpack system, a huge helmet system, etc., and making these kind of tech trees and different bullets go to different guns and everything. We wanted to kind of cut all the clutter and go to the bare essentials. But now what we do is that we always look at, okay, what is the right amount of depth without increasing complexity to bring into the core gameplay to make it more interesting. Then obviously, I mean, we're at version 0.66. How many here will launch a game without any proper leaderboards or clans or tournaments or events, like live events and recurring events? How many would? Do you have the guts to do it? Yeah, you did. Yeah, I know. But you're a crazy Finn as well. Because we know that those are just, they're not basic stuff. They're really fundamental stuff. Way more important in many cases than some of the maybe core gameplay additions and stuff like that. But so we're very kind of interested to see once we go live with leaderboards, tournaments, events, clans or battalions or whatever we want to call them, and different ways for players to chat and kind of talk with each other, how much that's actually going to add still into the game and actually make it feel more like the game that it should be. So once we have those in, we'll be around 1.0, if not that by the end of the year, sometime in Q1. And some of the kind of future stuff where we want to go with the game, we actually want to give the power to the players. like actually, so that they can start modding the game, so that they can start to create new match types and kind of play around with the game variables and what kind of private matches and custom games they want to create and stuff like that. So that's something that we want to build for next year. That doesn't mean, because when you're mobile, it's pretty hard for everybody to do the assets and the collisions and the UV maps, etc., to design your own maps. So it's more about tweaking with the game and what kind of match it is. Is it capture the flag? Is there no storm? Let's take away revive and health packs. It's permadeath. Let's make 5 versus 5, so that players can start to create new kinds of games and maybe even completely new games coming out of that in that sense. And also where we want to go kind of going forward is that we want to start looking more and more into, we have a lot of influencers already, we interact with them all the time. We've had a couple of pro teams and pro players approach us, hey, I love your game, if you ever do anything in like a tournament, we want to participate. So it's obviously something where we want to start to move next year as well. But we want to focus on the game first. We want to get to 1.0 before we start to do anything like that, because I'm sure it's been said many times here in this conference as well that what really matters the most is that you have a great fun game, because if you don't have a great fun game, all the other things around it, on top of it, on a side of it, or outside of it don't really matter that much. But that's where we want to go next year anyway, once we have that version 1.0. That's what I had. I'm happy to take questions and talk in more detail about the stuff, how we build it. We're also hiring any coders, artists, or designers if you want to move to the beautiful and cold Helsinki. Welcome. Thank you.
So is there any question? Okay, so I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said something about marketing, that you don't have something like big scale marketing for your game, and it's built more about influencers or about community. And do you think that you will continue in this strategy, or you will involve also some other marketing strategies in it?
Yeah, as soon as the equation starts to work, because we're still not happy with the monetization. We want that to be higher so that we can do marketing at a bigger scale. But I think we're fortunate to be in that position where the game is actually stable and growing in terms of the audience without us actually spending money to sustain that. So it's definitely something that we have done a lot. We do maybe $20,000 to $40,000 worth of user acquisition per day. Most of it's automatic that our platform does. If it's profitable, it goes up. If it's not, it goes down, and that's per game, per network, per geo, per campaign. Everything is automated. So as soon as the numbers are there, it will start to grow automatically. So yes, we will do more, but our focus is on really building the community, because the community makes the game stronger. That's how we think that in the long run, it's not about buying users, it's about actually creating a community and a sport and a hobby around that, so that there's, that brings the longevity into the game, that it's for 5 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? How many of you is building a Battle Royale? Raise your hand. Building. Yeah. 1/2 a hand from Rovio. Okay. Anybody else? I have a question for you. Why not? Yeah. Yeah. No, we have 6 other games too. It's not the only game out there, but it's a good time for that kind of game. Yeah.
We are doing VR games, and there isn't enough players to sustain.
Yeah.
So that's the reason.
Yeah. No, I'm not blaming. I'm just curious.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
So the market research stuff was completely outsourced, right? So you didn't do it yourself.
No, we do everything ourselves.
So but that was like a copyright thing with the market research thing. So for the market research, you used outsourced tools, right? Mainly.
No. Which one are you referring to? Where at the graph?
Game Refinery.
Yeah.
That one.
So
that's
the
Game
data.
Refinery. That's a third-party service. Yes, just look it up. GameRefinery.com.
Okay. So yeah, you go through it yourselves, but you outsource the data collection
It's
part
a
of
service
it, right?
like App Annie, but not like App Annie. It provides a lot more detailed genre and feature level breakdown and power score, what makes a game work and stuff like that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Gentleman in the glasses there at the back. No? Okay. Standing between you and your beers. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. Thank you.